Welcome back, devoted companions on this profound wisdom quest. We arrive together at day 12, pushing deeper into the practical, essential, and often challenging virtues required to live a life of meaning, integrity, and genuine, sustainable flourishing. With each day we spend in this shared exploration, we are consciously laying another crucial stone in the foundation of our character, meticulously building an inner structure that is capable of weathering any of life's inevitable storms, not with mere endurance, but with authentic grace and unshakable strength. Yesterday, our journey led us to the luminous, unifying, and profoundly practical principle of the Golden Rule. We explored how this universal ethic, built upon the bedrock of empathy and the powerful engine of reciprocity, provides the most reliable compass we have for navigating our relationships with others with fairness, kindness, and integrity. We now understand what a just and compassionate interaction looks like. We know the direction in which our ethical compass points. But a compass, no matter how true, is only useful if one has the strength, the resolve, and the unwavering will to follow it, especially when the path it indicates is steep, frightening, socially risky, or vehemently opposed by the world around us. It is one thing in a quiet moment of reflection to know the right thing to do. It is another thing entirely, in the heat of a challenging moment, to possess the strength of character to actually do it. Today, we dive into the virtue that provides that very strength, the engine that turns noble intention into effective, world-changing action. We explore courage and overcoming fear, the path of authentic and lasting growth. When we think of courage, our modern minds often leap to dramatic, heroic, and often cinematic images. The firefighter rushing into the inferno of a burning building to save a life, the soldier on the battlefield, facing enemy fire with stoic resolve, the intrepid explorer venturing into the vast, unknown, and dangerous lands of our planet. And while these are certainly powerful and admirable expressions of a certain kind of physical courage, to limit our understanding of this profound virtue to these extraordinary, and for most of us rare instances, is to miss its deeper, broader, and far more relevant application in the very fabric of our own daily lives. The classical philosophers, particularly Plato, Aristotle, and the Stoics, understood courage, which they called Andrea, as fortitude, one of the four essential cardinal virtues, alongside prudence, justice, and temperance. They saw it not merely as a fleeting, reactive act performed in a moment of crisis, but as a stable, cultivated, and enduring disposition of the soul. It is the unwavering quality of character that allows us to face not just physical danger, but also the equally daunting challenges of emotional pain, social risk, profound uncertainty, and the quiet, grinding, unglamorous nature of long-term adversity with resilience, integrity, and unwavering grace. Courage, in its deepest sense, is the inner strength that allows you to live in alignment with your most cherished values, even, and perhaps most importantly, when you are profoundly afraid. To truly understand courage in all its richness and complexity, we must first understand its intimate, paradoxical, and absolutely essential relationship with fear. Courage is not, and has never been, the absence of fear. A person who feels no fear in a genuinely dangerous or risky situation is not courageous. They are, in the Aristotelian sense, reckless, foolish, or perhaps simply unaware of the reality of the situation, condition that is a vice, not a virtue. True courage does not magically eliminate fear. It acknowledges fear, respects its presence as a valuable and intelligent signal from our nervous system, listens to its wisdom without being enslaved by its commands, and then acts skillfully and consciously in spite of it. Fear is a natural, healthy, and absolutely essential human emotion. It is a powerful, deeply ingrained evolutionary signal designed with one primary purpose: to protect us from harm. It alerts us to threats, both real and perceived, mobilizing our bodies for survival through the sympathetic nervous system's fight, flight, or freeze response. The goal of a wise and courageous life, therefore, is not to become fearless, which is an impossible, undesirable, and ultimately foolish state, but to become better at dancing with our fear. Courage is the conscious choice we make in that sacred pause between stimulus and response, when our commitment to a deeply held value to justice, to truth, to love, to compassion, to personal growth is stronger, more compelling, and more important to us than the seductive, powerful grip of our fear and our innate, biological desire for safety, comfort, and predictability. Let's explore the different landscapes, the varied and often challenging terrains where courage is required of us, moving from the obvious to the subtle. There is, of course, the well-understood domain of physical courage, the bravery to face bodily harm, intense physical exertion, or the ultimate fear of death. This is the courage of the first responder, the soldier, the athlete pushing their body to its absolute limit. But for most of us, living our modern lives, the more common and often more difficult challenges lie in other, more subtle, yet equally important domains. There is social courage, which is the profound willingness to risk social embarrassment, rejection, criticism, disapproval, or even ostracism from our chosen tribe for the sake of our convictions. This could manifest as speaking up in a professional meeting when you hold a dissenting but important opinion, knowing it may displease your superiors. It could be defending a person or a group who is being treated unfairly, even if it makes you a target of the same unfairness. It could be the quiet courage of setting a firm boundary with a family member, risking their displeasure to protect your own well-being. Or it could be sharing your authentic, vulnerable self in a relationship, risking disapproval or misunderstanding in the hope of creating a deeper, more genuine intimacy. In our highly social tribal world, where our sense of belonging is so deeply tied to our psychological security, the fear of being cast out of the group can feel as primal and threatening to our nervous system as any physical danger. Then there is the quiet, often unseen, and deeply personal landscape of emotional courage. This is the profound capacity to face, be with, and move through our own difficult and painful inner experiences, our grief, our shame, our anxiety, our disappointment, our loneliness, without immediately resorting to the common strategies of numbing ourselves with substances or distractions, or lashing out at others in displaced anger. It is the courage to be vulnerable, first and foremost with ourselves, and then with trusted others. It is the courage to feel fully, to allow the powerful waves of emotion to pass through the landscape of our awareness, without being swept away by them, and without building dams of resistance that only cause the pressure to build. It is the quiet, unsung bravery of sitting with a broken heart, allowing it the time and the space it needs to heal rather than immediately seeking a new relationship or a constant stream of distractions to avoid the acute pain of loss. It is the courage to apologize, to admit fault, and to seek forgiveness. And perhaps most foundational to our entire wisdom quest is the practice of intellectual courage. This is the rare and vital willingness to rigorously question our own most cherished beliefs, to engage with challenging ideas that might destabilize our comfortable worldview, and most difficult of all, to admit with humility and grace when we are wrong. This is the courage we began to cultivate with the Socratic method, the courage to subordinate our ego's powerful, insistent need to be right to our soul's deeper, more authentic desire for truth. It is the courage to say, "I don't know," and to remain in the uncomfortable but fertile space of aporia, or productive confusion, rather than rushing to a premature and unsupported conclusion. So, understanding these different facets of courage, how do we actively and systematically cultivate this essential virtue? How do we move from being controlled and paralyzed by our fears to being guided and empowered by our most cherished values? The path lies in a powerful, synergistic combination of understanding the nature of our fear, consciously changing our relationship to it, and taking small, consistent, and intentional action in the world. The first crucial step is to practice mindful awareness of our fear, drawing on the skills we honed with such care on day 6. When the feeling of fear arises, our deeply conditioned automatic instinct is often to either immediately react to it or to frantically push it away, deny its existence, or distract ourselves from it. A more skillful, courageous, and ultimately transformative approach is to meet the fear with mindful, non-judgmental attention. Turn towards the feeling with a spirit of gentle, scientific curiosity. Notice precisely where you feel the fear in your body. Is it the constricting tightness in your chest, the nauseous knot in your stomach, the telltale shallowing of your breath, the electric tingling in your hands, the tension in your jaw? Observe the specific thoughts that are accompanying the fear, the what-if stories, the catastrophic narratives, the cognitive distortions that your mind is so skillfully and so automatically creating. By observing the fear as a raw constellation of physical sensations and a transient series of mental events, instead of being completely consumed by and identified with it, you create a crucial space of separation. In that space, you are no longer the fear. You are the spacious, calm awareness that is noticing the presence of fear. This simple but profound shift in perspective from being the subject of fear to being the observer of fear can dramatically reduce its tyrannical power over you. The next step is to use our reason, our prudence, our prefrontal cortex to examine the fear we have just mindfully observed. We can engage in a Socratic dialogue with our fear, putting it on the witness stand of our own rational mind. Ask it clarifying questions. What, precisely, am I afraid of in this situation? Let me be as specific as possible. Probe its underlying assumptions. Is this threat as certain, as permanent, and as catastrophic as it feels right now? Am I assuming the worst possible outcome? Seek evidence. What is the actual objective evidence for this fear, and what is the evidence against it? Have I survived similar situations in the past? Explore the consequences of both action and inaction. What is the true cost of letting this fear dictate my actions? What opportunities for growth, connection, or integrity will I miss? And what is the potential benefit of acting in spite of it, even if I don't get the outcome I want? Often when we shine the bright, unwavering light of rational examination on our fears, we find that the terrifying amorphous monster we imagined lurking in the dark is in the clear light of day much smaller, much more manageable, and often based on exaggerated cognitive distortions like catastrophizing or fortune-telling. Perhaps the most effective and time-tested method for actively building the muscle of courage is what modern psychology calls exposure therapy, a principle the ancient Stoics knew well and practiced diligently through voluntary discomfort. Courage is like a muscle. It grows stronger only when it is exercised against a level of resistance that is challenging but not crushing. We build courage not by waiting for fear to magically disappear, but by taking small, deliberate, and manageable actions in the very presence of fear. The key to this is to start small, to intentionally step just outside the edge of your current comfort zone, but not so far that you become completely overwhelmed and re-traumatized, which would only reinforce the fear. This is about creating a courage hierarchy. If your fear is of social rejection, you don't start by confessing your deepest secret to a room full of strangers. You start by simply making eye contact and smiling at a cashier. Then you progress to asking a stranger for the time. Then you might try making a small, low-stakes comment in a group chat. Then you might dare to voice a mild, respectful disagreement with a trusted friend. Each small, successful step creates a new piece of tangible evidence for your brain. Through a process called habituation, it recalibrates your nervous system, teaching it through direct, lived experience that this situation is not, in fact, a life or death threat. Each action you take, no matter how seemingly insignificant, sends a powerful, undeniable message to the deepest parts of your being. I was afraid, and I did it anyway. And I survived. This process of gradual, voluntary exposure is the most reliable and scientifically validated way to expand your comfort zone and build lasting, authentic fortitude. We can also draw immense strength and a powerful, motivating fuel for our courage by connecting deeply and consistently with our core values and our sense of purpose. Our ikigai from day 2, when our why for doing something is strong enough, clear enough, and meaningful enough, we can endure almost any how. If you are deeply and unshakably committed to the value of justice, that value can provide the necessary fuel for your courage to speak up against an unfair policy at work. If you are deeply committed to your creative work, that sense of purpose can give you the strength to face the intimidating fear of criticism and rejection and share your art with the world. Before taking a courageous action, take a moment to consciously connect with the core value that is motivating you. Remind yourself what is truly at stake, not just your momentary comfort or your ego's safety, but your integrity, your growth, your contribution to something larger than yourself. This conscious connection to a purpose larger than your own fear can be a profound and renewable source of fuel for your courage, transforming fear not into an obstacle, but into the very energy that propels you forward. Finally, it is absolutely crucial to fundamentally reframe our perception of failure, adversity, and mistakes. A major source of our fear, perhaps the most common and paralyzing source, is the fear of failing, of looking foolish, of getting it wrong, or of making a mistake. But if we can adopt a robust growth mindset, a perspective that sees challenges not as final exams that deliver a verdict on our inherent worth, but as invaluable opportunities for learning, for developing new skills, for gathering crucial feedback, and for building resilience, then fear loses much of its paralyzing sting. In the context of building courage, every single time we act in spite of our fear, regardless of the external outcome, we have succeeded in the most important way imaginable. We have succeeded in strengthening our character. The failure is not in falling down, getting a no, or not achieving our desired result. The only true failure, from the perspective of character development, is in being too afraid to even try, too afraid to risk, too afraid to step into the arena of life, where all growth happens. You can now see with profound and integrated clarity how this essential virtue of courage is absolutely necessary to activate, empower, and bring to life the wisdom we've been so carefully cultivating throughout our entire wisdom quest. It is the virtue that breathes vibrant, active life into the golden rule from day 11, giving us the strength to be kind, and just even when others are not, and to set compassionate, firm boundaries when necessary. It is the powerful engine that drives our pursuit of justice and the valiant protector of our temperance, as we need immense courage to resist both external social pressure and the powerful pull of our own internal, unhealthy impulses. It is the quality that allows us to live with authenticity, according to the often uncomfortable findings of our Socratic self-inquiry from day 10, to actually live the difficult but liberating truths we discover about ourselves. And it requires a deep and abiding practice of the art of letting go from day 5 courageously, letting go of our powerful, often unconscious attachment to guaranteed safety, predictable comfort, and the universal approval of others in order to bravely step into the vast, unknown, and fertile territory where all true growth, all genuine learning, and all meaningful adventures occur. Courage is not a special, magical trait reserved for a heroic, chosen few. It is a fundamental human capacity, a noble and essential virtue that can be intentionally, systematically, and joyfully cultivated by anyone, anywhere, who is willing to do the work. It is the moment-to-moment commitment made in the very presence of fear to choose the path of growth over the path of stagnation, the path of integrity over the path of convenience, the path of our highest and most cherished values over the path of our smallest, most persuasive, and most persistent insecurities. So, I invite you now to reflect on the current, self-imposed boundaries of your own comfort zone. What is one small, specific, and manageable action you could commit to taking this week that would represent a conscious, intentional step outside of it? What fear, perhaps a small social fear, a fear of trying a new skill, a fear of being vulnerable, or a fear of having a difficult but necessary conversation, could you mindfully and courageously face? The goal is not to be reckless, but to intentionally and lovingly exercise your courage muscle, to prove to yourself, through direct experience, that you are stronger, more capable, and more resilient than your fear would have you believe. Please share your brave intention in the comments below, as your courage will undoubtedly inspire and uplift the courage in others, creating a powerful and positive ripple effect throughout our entire community. If this deep, practical, and comprehensive exploration of courage and fear has provided you with strength, clarity, and a practical path forward for your own growth, please support our shared quest with a like on this video. And to continue building your character with us on this rewarding and transformative journey, please be sure you are subscribed to our channel and have the notification bell activated so you do not miss a single crucial step. Tomorrow, on day 13 of our wisdom quest, we will explore the perfect and necessary complement to courage. Having learned how to skillfully and bravely face our fears and step into action, we will now dive into the essential art of moderation and balance, the timeless wisdom of the middle way, which ensures that our courage, our passion, and all our other virtues are applied not with reckless abandon, but with grace, harmony, and profound, sustainable effectiveness. Thank you for your brave and open-hearted presence today. May you find the wisdom to know your fears with clarity, the compassion to hold them with kindness, and the unwavering courage to act in alignment with your deepest, highest, and most noble values. I will look forward with great respect and anticipation to seeing you again tomorrow.